Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a Lifestealer build for patch 7.35d, and this hero has become more popular recently. It's actually the most picked hero on Dota 2 Pro Tracker for carry, so I figured I would make a build for you guys, show you what is new about this hero, how things have changed a little bit, so how you build him actually in the game. And you can go and look at the build, obviously, on Dota 2 Pro Tracker for what the pros are doing, or you can use in-game guides, and those will usually tell you the correct things to do, but I'm going to explain why we do those things. So first we're going to start off with the starting items, and basically you're just going to be buying Quelling Blade, Tango, Gauntlet, Circlet, and 2 branches pretty much every single game. I mean, this is what you're going to be doing every single time. Now, sometimes people will not go as many branches or circlets and just go for like a few gauntlets. You can kind of do that, but I think this is just better to do that because standard things you're going to be doing in the game is just buying this for regen, and then you're going to want to complete your bracer pretty much every single time. And that is just like the default because you're buying those 2 items to make the bracer, so you might as well finish the bracer. And then usually you're going to build Magic Wand. Now, not every time. Some games I will skip Magic Wand in general, and I think it's just a easy binary. It's like, do you have a lane where the enemy is spamming spells? Like, if they just do not cast very many spells, I honestly will use those branches for extra regen. That's really what I think. If you're against a lot of spellcasting supports or a bristleback or something like that, just finish the wand in the laning stage. Otherwise, I would honestly skip it some of the time. If you want to complete it every single game, you can also do that too, just as a default, so you don't have to think about it too much. And then lastly, we're going to always have our phase boots, and I'm pretty much going to be finishing phase boots probably next every time. I think that would just be the default of what you should do in most games, just to like kind of give a baseline, because you could also make an Orb of Corrosion. And this is a kind of a situational item. People buy it fairly often. It is something that, I put in this early game items because it does get bought, maybe 50% of the time or so, but it is very situational. It's very aggressive because obviously it gives you that minus armor, that attack speed, but it is fairly expensive. Let's just say you get boots, but you don't actually finish the phase boots. This is pretty much the cost of finishing your phase boots. So you're giving up that to have this Orb of Corrosion, which means that you think you can already stick on the enemies, you're already fast enough, and you're having an aggressive lane where you can run them down and they just like can't do anything, and you just kind of compound that even more to the point where it's like, if they walk up in the lane at all, you just kill them. And so that just makes this even harder for the enemy to lane. You're just kicking them out. But if you have a lane where you're kind of passive, you're just really not being able to be aggressive, you're not able to click the enemy, and you don't kind of foresee the ability to click the enemy anytime in the future, maybe even after you get 6, you're still not going to be able to click them very much because you're just going to be in threat like all the time to die, and you just want to be more careful, then I would probably skip this because this is very much an aggressive item. It also takes up a slot, and you can see, like, if I have all this, let's say I get rid of my tangos, I'm already 5 slotted this far in if I finish all this stuff, so that's a lot. And then you basically are going to be going for armlet every single game. This is kind of, I actually put it on this hotkey, so that's why I'm switching it around, but armlet is just one of those that you're getting every single game. It just helps the hero out a lot. And because he's such a sustained hero with his abilities, this, item, when you're farming the jungle, when you're attacking enemies, and this is when you're going to have it turned on, you're really not losing that much health overall because this hero is all about attacking a bunch of times, gaining a lot of health, doing damage, doing sustained damage over time as you click people a bunch. And the more you click them, the more health you're gaining. So the armlet is just really good for all of that. Any hero that can buy armlet's probably, honestly, the best item in the game other than branch. The thing that makes this item not the best and branch not the best is branch, you can only have 6 of them. Armlet makes your health go down. So if it didn't do that, it would just be bought on every single hero because it's just so OP. So just think about it that way. If it just costs nothing for a hero like Lifestealer to have this on basically when they're jungling or when they're hitting people, then you're going to buy it, especially on strength heroes. So anyway, that is the early game items. That's kind of the default build that you're going to be doing every single time. And then you're going to be going into Radiance these days because that's just like what you do on this hero. So Radiance has gotten kind of, I don't know if it's really been buffed that much over the years, although it has been buffed recently kind of a little bit, just with like mischance and things like that. But really it's the fact that like all the other farming items have been nerfed. Maelstrom was changed and it got like basically giga buffed, and then it got nerfed recently because it was just too strong. So now Radiance has become like pretty good. Like if a hero wants to buy it and can buy it, and that's like one of their main builds, then they're going to go Radiance. And so Lifestealer is one of those. And because of the way his other parts of his build kind of go around that, Radiance is just really good for doing extra damage, especially because you can see the other items that we're going to be buying, which is SNY has been buffed recently to just be really, really good. And this is offering this hero everything that they want: move speed, attack speed, status resistance, which is great, extra lifesteal, which makes even having, armlet on just not as bad, and it also makes you just be able to sustain through everything a lot more. So that just gives literally everything the hero wants. Now, I don't really think you should skip this item, although it is kind of this weird middle item where now, let's say you have these 3 items. That's a lot of gold to spend into 2 like smaller items that aren't that great. I mean, you're not going to sell SNY eventually. You're going to sell armlet probably late in the game, but still, it's kind of like an awkward item. But still, if you look at, pros, they're building this every single game. So, I mean, I would probably not skip it. And I think more and more as we're seeing, especially, let's say the next patch changes SNY or makes it even better or doesn't really nerf it at all, and if anything else is nerfed like Maelstrom or any of these other things again, I think SNY is actually going to become something that is bought on a lot more heroes. It's kind of like on the uptrend. And then you can see that the Shard and the Ags are the next 2 things that we're basically going to be buying for this hero. And the Shard just gives you that extra ability, open wounds, to just slow people, do more right-click damage because you're sticking on the hero and you're life-stealing more, which is going to be great. But actually, Ags is like kind of the big build. This is kind of one of the big reasons why this hero's back in the meta, kind of more popular now, basically because the Radiance into SNY is becoming so good, and now you can go for this Ags, which you're going to be doing a lot of games. Maybe not every game. It kind of is situational, but still, it's going to be very good on a lot of games, in a lot of games. So basically what you do with this is, let's just actually level up our ult. So let's just level the hero up. So what you can do, instead of infesting allies, you actually just infest the enemy, and then you can see now they're taking a ton of damage. You're just literally inside them. You're doing right-click damage to them, then you burst out and do more damage, and you have this Radiance taking them down, which means this whole combination of things is just going to be so good. Plus, you actually can, use your armlet, and you're not losing health while you're in there. Then you can burst out whenever. So it's just, everything works to synchronize in this build. And this is kind of the main build you're going to want to be doing. And it's also one of those things where you're doing a ton of damage to somebody, like a carry or whoever, and they literally can't do anything because you're invulnerable inside them. So that's kind of the main essence of the build that Lifestealer has now. And then late game, you see that you're basically just building into more damage, more control, whatever you really need. And the main things that are going to be this AC just gives you the attack speed, that minus armor to make you do more damage, and also makes you a little tankier. You have your basher, which is something that, all that strength, that damage block, that's great. And then bashing people to stick on them is going to be really good as well. And then, like, these are just ultra late game, like damage straight up items that it's just luxury, because once you have like this stuff, you just kind of have everything you need. And now it's like, okay, well, do I need Nullifier because people are buying E-Blade, or they just have Yule Scepters or any of these kinds of things that are just making it really annoying to stick on people. Like, yes, maybe I have my Abyssal Blade, but it's not enough. So then I'm going to buy Nullifier. Or maybe I don't really need anything else. Maybe I just need a Silence. And that's all I really need, because people aren't buying a lot of stuff that I need Nullifier for. But if I can just silence this one target, I will just kill them. I'll do insane damage. I'll do true strike and all that kind of stuff as well, which is really good, because then if you buy this, it gives you all the little things that you want, and you don't really have to buy MKB. And then like late game, ultra late game, you can buy a Divine Rapier if you need to. It's just kind of like these things are the ultra late game damage items that you can buy if you need them situationally, depending on which one you want. But you're probably going to get, one of these items. And then situational items, there's a lot of different things in here. I would say Manta, I kind of put that there first, because there will be a decent amount of games where you buy Manta instead of SNY, because one of the things you can see about this build is there is no Dispel. There's just no way that you can deal with a Silence, or you can deal with anything like that, because yes, you can maybe sustain through it, but if you're getting stunned and silenced, it can be really bad for you, because then you can't use your ult, you can't really do what you want. Yes, you have Rage, but again, when you're silenced, you can't Rage. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes Manta is going to be very good, especially because you're pairing Manta with Radiance, and that's always going to be good for farming lanes with actually having to be there, because you're just going to send your illusions down the wave and just farm and push that way, which is always very good. So this is probably one of the most situational items, in the sense that it's the most bought item right now that isn't in the main build. And that's also probably the case with with BKB late game. Is like, there are just games where Rage is not enough. Like, you just need to buy BKB straight up, period. You just have to buy it, because you need Rage, then BKB, then Rage to stick on people in like a game with insane amounts of stuns. And so you're going to be buying this probably, even maybe after SNY. That's definitely a consideration. And then we just have a bunch of items like MKB, Scotty, a Satanic with extra lifesteal, extra purge of a Dispel, Daedalus, which is just straight damage. Maybe you don't even need any of these things. And then we have Desolator and Hand of Midas and Mjolnir, Silver Edge, Revenant's Brooch, all these kinds of things are just kind of very situational. Like, these are all just straight up, do I just need straight damage? Do I need that extra dispel? Do I actually need something more than this True Strike? Do I need just extra tankiness and slow, which isn't usually the case on the hero, but it just adds that extra bit of, you know, stuff to him where you don't really need much damage. You don't need that lockdown. You can just get this for the extra stats and everything. Do I need a break? Do I just want to like clear illusions and stuff like that even more than my Radiance? Do I need this to hit people? You don't really buy this very often, especially since the nerf, which isn't a huge deal for him, but still. And then the other thing would be, you know, Desolator. That's just like an old build, but I'm keeping it in here because it is still possible to buy. It's just kind of like a outdated build since this hero's become popular. And then Midas, you could always go this like early before, you know, even Armlet if you had a terrible game and you're just like mad or something and like half griefing the game. But I just really wouldn't buy it. I really wouldn't suggest it, but it is possible. You can still do it on the hero. It is still a decent farming item on the hero. It's just that, you know, all these other items are way better. And then like in weird games where you're not like the only carry, you can buy Heaven's Halberd if it's really good for you. You know, if you really need a Linken's, you can buy that. And then these blinks are also an option. And then just late game, you're going to get bots eventually. But these blinks are an option. I would say probably Swift Blink more than Strength or Overwhelming Blink, but you know, these are also just an option if jumping in there is really what you need to do and you just feel like you can not get on top of targets because so many people have so many mobility in that game. So that's the item build. And then we're going to briefly talk about the skill build. So first level, we're going to be leveling Ghoul Frenzy. You can also level Feast if you want, if you're just going to be more passive and just trying to sustain, but usually you're going to want to get that extra attack speed for last hitting. So you're usually going to be wanting to level that and then Feast for the sustain. And then I would suggest actually leveling Rage by level 3. So you can either go Feast, Ghoul Frenzy, and then Rage, or Ghoul Frenzy, Feast, then Rage, just so you have one of each, and just so that you have Rage if you get into a sticky situation. I just think that's always best, because you could put another point to maybe Ghoul Frenzy here, level 3, but I know some guides suggest you do that, but I would just say get the Rage, because it's just one point. It's better to be safe than sorry, and I think that's usually the case in most MMRs. Like, yeah, if you're a top player, you might want that extra efficiency with that situational, like, okay, I need more attack speed, I need more slow, that's where I'm going to get the Ghoul Frenzy level 3, but I would say for the most part, if you're watching this, you're just going to want Rage just in case. And then we're going to go Ghoul Frenzy and max that out, basically. Now, that's not exactly what we should be doing, because obviously I have level 6 here, but let's just actually level myself up even more so I can show you, you know, what I'm going to be maxing out. First and foremost, you're obviously going to get your Infest to level 6, that's pretty obvious, and then you're going to be going for the Feast to max that out next, and then for the last skill, you're going to be doing Rage last, and obviously get your ult whenever you can. That's pretty straightforward. And then for talents, you're going to be wanting to get this Rage move speed. That's just always going to be good. Yes, Infest damage is not bad, but you're just going to want to get this like almost every game. It's just not really a choice. Honestly, they just get this. It's so much better for sticking on targets and things like that. The 15 talent is one of those where you can go either way. I would say 350 health is just the one that people get more, maybe 60% of the time or so, and it just is better overall for being safe. It's kind of the same thing with getting Rage level 3. It's just better safe than sorry, but 30 damage is really good in a game where you just don't feel threatened. You just don't feel like you're going to die, so you can just stick on people and you just want to do more damage. You can totally pick that as well. Then the slow is just going to be very good because it's just like what your hero does. And then level 25, let's just get to level 25. You're going to want this Rage duration because this is just not great. I mean, like, it's a little bit of an amp up, but it's really just, you don't feel that impact compared to the impact that you feel with this Rage. And then if you click that, you have that extra Rage duration. If you also bought BKB, it's just going to make it so that you just have insane amounts of magic immunity for so long. The enemy just cannot deal with it. And then if you didn't buy BKB, for instance, in a game where you felt like it wasn't really necessary, I mean, that just amps it up even more. That gives you even more of a percentage overall increase of your Rage duration just when you like use one and then another one later in the fight, or those kinds of things, which you're probably only going to be able to use one in a fight, but still, unless it's a long fight, just makes it even better so you don't have to buy BKB. Because if you don't need to buy it, then I wouldn't recommend it, just because it's always better to get other items. But BKB is honestly one of these things that this hero's been buying more and more. But in any case, yeah, that Rage duration just way better. And that, everyone, is my Lifestealer build for patch 7.35d. As always, guys, if you liked the video or found it helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.